Paraguay is not a nice place to live in. This is what you get to hear from a lot of expats that visited this landlocked country in the heart of South America. I wanted to fill you in on some of Paraguay's biggest challenges and why so many expats that thought about making Paraguay their plan A actually end up leaving. The fact that Paraguay is a landlocked country turns a lot of people off. They never get to swim in the ocean, they never get to enjoy that ocean breeze, they never get to enjoy a walk along the beach. All of this really doesn't make Paraguay an interesting vacation destination or a place to call it your home. Places like Colombia, the Dominican Republic, or Panama offer a much more conducive ambiance for somebody looking to enjoy a more balanced lifestyle. Since Paraguay is a subtropical country, you probably would want to enjoy the beach occasionally. This is not something that's possible here unless you want to go to a beach on the river. There's just no ocean beach here in Paraguay. Now, I think this is also a pro because, on the other hand, Paraguay is actually safe from many natural disasters that their Caribbean counterparts are dealing with on an annual basis. So living in Paraguay comes with its pros and cons, and being a landlocked country certainly makes a perfect example of this very situation. The healthcare here is disappointing. You get to hear this a lot from expats that attempted to get certain medical procedures done in Paraguay, where they learned that it's either not possible or the quality of the service was just not as expected. So they ended up going to a different Latin American country for healthcare. It isn't just about the healthcare service quality here. The lack of quality can also be observed when making a phone call to a hospital, where you get to learn that the operators have no real intention of answering your questions. Oftentimes you're being given inaccurate information or you're not being attended at all, which of course makes the whole experience even less desirable. Now, this doesn't hold true for all healthcare facilities here in Asunción or even in Tier 2 cities, but it is certainly a common problem across the country. Some expats have called Paraguay's healthcare system very questionable, and I can totally understand why. Many doctors that are employed by Paraguayan hospitals lack proper education and experience in the treatments that they handle. On the flip side, many Paraguayan doctors now study abroad, obtain their education and license and degree abroad so that they can come back home and provide the best quality health care to the local population. So things are changing, but they're changing very slowly. So if you're looking for high quality health care, maybe Paraguay is not the best of places for you to move to. Expats and also locals complain about the corruption here in Paraguay. It is true that Paraguay is one of the most corrupted countries, not only Latin America, but across the emerging world. There have been numerous reports of massive corruption, even at the highest level, and also involving everyday activities that you may have to face when living here in the heart of South America. Be it police or everyday things that you need to run a business. Corruption is a widespread problem across the emerging world. You may get pulled over by the cops and be issued a citation that is actually not a legal citation. Many police officers here work for their own pockets and they don't actually end up enforcing the laws, and many times you also get pulled over for no reason and are pretty much being forced into paying a fine that does not go to the good of the country. More advanced Latin American countries, specifically Uruguay and Panama, enjoy less corruption overall. These countries are a lot safer for doing business. They're a lot safer probably also for driving a vehicle and just getting everyday things done in a smooth and predictable manner. Expats say that Paraguay is not a nice place to live in because road safety here is at a very bad level. Many expats claim that Paraguay is not a nice place to live in because road safety is non-existent. When walking down the streets of Asunción, especially the new Asunción, and you come across a crosswalk and you want to cross the street, you will realize that many drivers will actually not stop to let you cross. This is a very common problem, not just in Paraguay, but across the emerging world. And many people, especially Americans, Canadians, and Europeans, can't understand why people won't stop at the crosswalk. While many laws exist here, including traffic laws, Many people here do as they wish, and they take the law in their own hands and don't really obey local traffic laws. There are major incidents happening here on Paraguayan roads every single week. Very recently, a bus driver ran a red light and killed a woman on a motorbike. This is all too common on Paraguayan roads. You see this kind of stuff, of course, minus the deadly accident, which unfortunately happened, but you see this kind of behavior every day in Paraguay. There are laws in place. You have to stop when the traffic light is red, but many people will not obey traffic laws here. Well, there is a transit police in place to regulate traffic behavior. It is not always present or focused on actually resolving these issues that are spotted here on Paraguayan roads. The best way to avoid these behaviors from continuing is by issuing traffic citations to people that just don't obey traffic laws, and that the citation amount is high enough for the person to realize that if I do this again, I would have to pay a high fine. So they would actually not end up doing it. But the problem is that a lot of the times traffic citations are not issued, under the table money is being paid. So the person infringing on the traffic law ends up paying a much smaller amount, and the local police also gets to gain by making money into their own pockets. Aggressive and reckless driving is very common here as well. You have to be very careful. I don't recommend driving a vehicle here in Paraguay, especially if you're new to the country and don't really understand and have no experience with driving a vehicle here. I would highly recommend waiting at least a few months, ideally 3 to 6 months, before purchasing a vehicle and driving here, because the driving norms are just not the same as in the US, Canada, Europe, or even Australia. Many Paraguayans don't have a valid driver's license. This is very true. There are a lot of people here on the roads that shouldn't even be driving a vehicle. Many of them have purchased their driving license from somebody, and it's actually not a valid license. So you have a lot of illegal activity operating here, which of course makes Paraguayan roads very unsafe. Some people claim that Paraguay is not a nice place to live in because they have to overcome tremendous language barrier before they can actually start living here. Unlike other countries where English is widely spoken, Paraguayan society speaks Spanish and Guarani. So if you come from an English-speaking country, or you come from a non-English-speaking country but speak English, you'll find it hard getting by here in the heart of South America. Many expats prefer English-speaking destinations in Eastern Europe, Africa, and even Southeast Asia, where they can get by with English. I believe that moving to a new country requires tremendous sacrifice, so you have to make an effort to learn the local language, and it's even more important to do that in Paraguay. Unlike a place like Panama that is very Americanized and also very involved in the American economy, Paraguay still operates by its own norms and Spanish language. English is not the second language here in Paraguay. So if you want to live in Paraguay, or you want to live in a nice place where English is widely spoken, I recommend you to look elsewhere. One of the biggest complaints that I hear from people is that the boiling hot weather here in Paraguay is the biggest reason why this country is not for me. Unless you come from Texas, Florida, the Caribbean, maybe a place like Panama or Southeast Asia, you might find the weather here unbearable during maybe 2 to 3 months of the year. Now, this is not a huge deal if your intention is to spend maybe a couple months per year in Paraguay and you won't be here during the boiling hot season. If you want to live here year-round, then the boiling hot weather is definitely something that you are gonna have to accept, because the weather is not going to change, the planet's gonna get hotter, and the temperatures will rise as a logical consequence. In my opinion, there are many places across the globe that are much hotter than Paraguay. We have many clients that spend a good part of the year in Southeast Asia, in places like the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and they are telling me that going for a walk in Southeast Asia is actually a lot less comfortable than doing it here in Paraguay during most of the year, except during the hot season. Due to the high humidity and high temperatures in Southeast Asia, you will find it very hard enjoying an evening walk. So even after the sunset, it is still very uncomfortable going for a walk in many places in Southeast Asia. Whereas here in Paraguay, it's actually more comfortable. But like I've said, there are certain moments throughout the year, I would say 2 to 3 months, where the weather is really hot. So that's something you have to accept when coming to Paraguay during that time of the year. Another major complaint that I hear from expats is that inefficiency is a widely spread problem in Paraguay. Expats are complaining about how slowly things are being completed here. Many instances can be mentioned where simple tasks take multiple times the amount of time that you would see those things to be completed in places like Europe, the US, or even in Asia. Since this is a more relaxed culture, people value community life and relaxation more than hustling. This is not a hustler society. This is a very relaxed place where people take their time to get things done. So if you expect top-notch service, top-notch speed, you're probably not going to find it. Now that I've mentioned the typical complaints that people have about Paraguay and why it is not a nice place to live in, what is your opinion? Is Paraguay a nice place to live in? Is Paraguay a bad place to live in? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in securing Paraguayan residency and participating in Paraguay's territorial tax system, I highly recommend you to obtain a second residency permit here now while it's still easy and take advantage of our Paraguay residency November 2025 specials. You can save anywhere from $550 to $2,000 on our Paraguay residency packages this month. If you're interested in moving here or securing a plan B, go to nomadelite.com and click on book a consultation. I look forward to talking to you and helping you move your life and tax residency to Paraguay. I see you on the next video.